Good morning, folks. I wanted to go over today a conditional formatting rule that could be handy. In this case, I want to be able to conditionally format the answers that are provided on this user sheet if it matches the correct answer. So the conditional format rule would be applied to all these cells here, C2 to C11. I wanted one conditional format rule that I could write, apply it to this range, and it would conditionally format if it's correct. So if this was changed to a 1, well, and also I wanted to point out that I want this to be controlled by the teacher. So this will only conditionally format. Let's take a look at the formula here. This is an AND statement saying and C2 equals D2, and the dollar signs in front of the C2 and D2 make this apply to all the rows, and that's what makes this work if we apply it to this whole range. So if C2 equals D2 and then indirect, we're looking to see if there's a check mark in user input B1. Let's come over and take a look at that. So in user input B1, if I turn it on and then come back to my user sheet, that's turning my conditional formatting on and off. So if this was an incorrect answer, let's say the students take this test, they put in their answers, and then the teacher, when everyone's finished, can give them the visual indication. The teacher didn't want the students to see that their answers were wrong as they were taking the test. They wanted to be able to checkbox this sheet, and then the students could see whether they got things right or wrong. Now, let's say there's answers in all of these. Notice this doesn't conditionally format unless the student puts in a correct or an incorrect answer. So that's all done with this. The first step is to come up with a custom formula. Equals and $C2 equals $D2, comma, that's a little bit hard to see this, indirect. We're using the indirect function to point to the user input sheet, B1, and then we're saying if that's equal to true. So these two and statements, the two and refers to both things being true. The student's answer is equal to the correct answer, and the teacher has turned on this function by using the checkbox. Turn it off, the students would not see their answers. Now, typically this particular column would be hidden and set up so that the students couldn't get into it. And now the students taking their test, 2, 1, let's see how the teacher could say, okay, time to check your answers. And then the student could see what they got right, what they got wrong. The other important feature of this is to make sure that you put in this function. So let's take a look here. If we didn't have any answers in, it all goes blank, even though our our checkbox is checked. We see the user sheet doesn't have any information. Now, if this cell is empty, was moved down, and we put in, let's see, we've got this checked, and we put in an answer that's incorrect. That's incorrect. I moved this down. Now notice they're all incorrect because they don't match. What we're looking at here is these, if I put in a 70, that one would work. But we don't want the students, if for some reason this is unchecked, of course, then everything's cleared up. But if the teacher has turned this on, and the student hasn't answered questions, they're all going to show up as in the pink zone here, which I guess maybe is okay because it means that the answer is not correct. But if you drag this as the first condition of the conditional format, if the cell's empty, don't do anything. So that takes precedence over these other things. But then if you put in a correct answer, it goes green. If you put in an incorrect answer, it goes red. So been working on trying to figure this out. Once you get the equals to turn green, then your next one is to add the rule when it's not equal to. That's what the greater than, less than symbol represents there. So that's how you can write one conditional format rule in this cell and apply it to this range, C2 to C11, and set it up like this, and you can get a conditional format to work for the students by having the teacher check things on and off.